Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this Creative Warrior online program powered by Vidyadan. Media and Entertainment Skills Council is doing this series in association with Global Media Education Council, and we are here back with another session on role of mass media in health communication. Earlier, we have covered role of mass media, importance, its significance, and in various fields, including the transportation, checking on the graphs, going on the roads. And today we are talking about health communication with Miss Avasthi Mary Varghese. So Mary Varghese is an assistant professor in the Department of English Lecture, Communication and Journalism. So triple main at CMS College, Kottayam in Kerala. As an alumni of Asian School of Journalism, she in Chennai and Central University, Hyderabad. She was previously working as a news producer for Reuters Desk. I'll be talking more about her, and even before entering the field of academics, she was there in the industry. She has also worked in the capacity of research assistant for UNESCO chair in community media for project that designed the community radio continuous improvement. Along with that, she has done various other projects, and she was involved in investigative project based on attacks on Indian fishermen at Pol Park Bay.
Yes.
I'll get it more details from her. And currently, she's also undergoing her doctorate. She's doing PhD in, and her primary research interest includes development communication. And lot to talk about her, but it's better we learn it from her.
Yeah.
Welcome, ma'am. So good to have
Thank
you
you.
here on the platform.
Hello and good evening. It gives me immense pleasure, actually, at the foremost, to be a part of these exclusive webinar series. And moreover, I'm really humbled with the introduction of mine. My name is Aswathi, not Avasthi, to correct you a little bit on my name, but I do understand.
My bad.
And thank you once again, GMEC, because I've been associating with it for the second time. And earlier we had conducted different sessions where I was playing the role of a moderator. And this time I'm actually presenting something. So it gives me immense pleasure. And the topic, like you mentioned, the role of mass media in health communication is really important, I would say, because both communication and health is something which we listen to or go through every day. But we really do not understand that there is a nexus between the two. Or I would say, there is a real cord between these two, both communication and health communication. So I would like to go from the basics to the theoretical perspective of health communication, and finally the practical perspective. So that's the whole idea. So Ms. Pooja, if you can start my presentation.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm giving you the rights to share your presentation. I'll be there learning at the back end, and my apologies for the mispronunciation.
Oh, that's totally fine. So should I share my screen?
Yes, you can try.
Yeah.
So I'll be learning at the back end.
Yeah, sure. One second. Is it visible?
Not yet, ma'am. So let's wait. I think it's taking a little longer.
Yeah, 1 second then.
By the time presentation pops up, I would really like to know about what was that project, Community Radio Continuous Improvement Toolkit?
Actually, we were working on something, the whole idea of community radio, if you would have heard about it.
Yes.
It was one of the UNESCO's main concept, to make women especially, they become self ambassadors of empowerment. and talk about the local issues which is happening, at their village. And moreover, they talk about their own village problems and come across with their own solutions using radio. So that was the whole idea. So we went to interior villages of Orissa and Punjab actually, and where we all sat together with these village women and tried to teach them, the how to use, community radio themselves.
Okay. And is it going on? Like, do they have a community radio
Yes,
working
yes,
now?
yes, yes. Yeah, they are really self-sufficient now. They know
Oh,
how to use the radio stations themselves.
wonderful.
Yeah. So is my slideshow visible now? I think.
It's still not visible.
Oh,
I
okay.
request if you can stop share and try again.
Yeah, 1 second. One second. It was seen actually, but suddenly, yeah.
And what was this Park Bay Indian fishermen like?
Actually,
There were some attacks or something because I think we
yeah.
missed it.
Yeah, it was basically, we went to Rameshwaram as a journalist to cover these fishermen killings.
Okay.
So as it's the at the Sri Lankan border, we were trying to, find out what was the real reason. So it was more like an investigative project.
Oh wow.
So
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 how was that solved? Like, I'm so
uh,
excited to know about mysteries.
solved in the sense we found out the fishermen actually were kept as captive, but then but the government had to take a call on this.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you're trying the presentation?
Yeah, 1 second. Actually, it's showing here on my system, but
Okay, let's try once again. Just
yeah,
stop the settings and then we'll try again to give you
yeah,
the lights. And let's
yeah,
see if that works.
yeah, yeah.
In the meantime, if you'd like to let us know about your existing PhD research,
Yeah,
give you the lights, you can try.
that's also related to the health communication actually. And I'm looking at sanitation campaigns and how the role, especially the role of women there, how they are actually making sure, with their own resources, how they make this concern actually, especially using mass media and as well as interpersonal communication, how do they make their own community self-sufficient and bring in the whole idea of the importance of sanitation, being a healthy lifestyle, etc. So that's the whole idea actually here. What my research is looking at, but looking at the role of mass media and especially interpersonal communication, how do at different levels of communication, or what you say, from the mass media level to community level, how it's all working about. So
Okay.
yeah. So should we start again the sharing?
I was checking your profile. It's a pretty long profile, like a very wonderful, but it also talks about new media studies, digital culture, and post-modern media forms
Yeah.
about your research project.
Yeah, it's all about digital, how the digital technology has changed the way, our own outlooks, and how do we use new media for different concerns. That is the whole idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens when we are waiting for something, it doesn't open up.
Yeah. But it was opening till the time we stopped, actually. Don't you think so? We cross-checked and then suddenly something happened and now it's again stopped.
I think time wanted we talk more about your research project.
Yes, yes, sure. Yeah.
So how like I personally feel doing PhD is a great thing in itself.
Yeah.
And coming on the projects and topics that you have covered, you are
Yeah.
going forward with, they're pretty exhaustive.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
so,
exhaustive, but it's interesting the way how we understand communication at different levels.
right.
There is so much to study, but we hardly understand that, these levels are there. Once again, in the sense, I'll open my presentation. Sometimes, if that works out.
Or if you can give a talk without sharing screen, I don't know.
Yeah, that is also fine with.
But you can try and open it.
I'll share my presentation maybe later on after this presentation. Is that fine?
Maybe do this. You start with your presentation. If it doesn't open up, you can continue with your lecture.
Yeah.
And if somebody requests for the presentation, we can get in touch and
Yeah.
send them the presentation.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Over
Thank
to
you.
you.
So, like I said in the in the beginning of my presentation itself, that I'll be talking about this nexus or this cord between communication and health communication in my session today. And moreover, I'm also trying to make you understand how do you define communication and health communication in the first sense, and how do you understand the defining role between the two. So first of all, we need to understand the basic definition of communication, which we have been hearing from long time, that communication can be defined as the symbolic exchange of shared meaning, and in between two people who are communicating, right? Similarly, when we talk about health communication, there are different levels in communication itself, with how it serves the purpose, like initiating actions, especially when it comes to health campaigns. Similarly, making known needs and requirements, then exchanging information, ideas, attitudes, and beliefs, and then engendering understanding. This is a very important component of health communication, in the sense, if suppose we are talking about a campaign related to smoking kills, how do you make them understand those people who are already doing it, that this is not a positive behavior and this is something which you should stop. So it is like engendering understanding. Similarly, establishing and maintaining relations. How do you continuously make sure you are always there with the community which is there with you, and you're constantly actually talking to them in some or the other way. So that is something else which we constantly do, but we do not realize that we are actually doing it with these people at different levels. So there are two important levels, or we can say communication factors, which make this communication very relevant. First of all, in the sense, first is that there is a communication perspective between the two, and secondly, there is transmission. Like I said, there is a sender, receiver, and at different levels. Then there is a channel, and then and at the second level, there is something known as ritualistic component, right? So this component is also continuously working between the two. But here there are three important interventions which we come across as individuals. First is the realization that communication intervention is not in a social vacuum. We are actually living in a society which is continuously interacting with each other, whether it is individuals, or whether it is people, or whether it is communities talking to each other, etc. So this is continuously this whole environment is actually continuously interactive. Secondly, so second important factor here is the understanding that you cannot expect thus all your messages as sender which you're sending will be accepted. That is what happens in most of the campaigns, that many of the campaigns actually give the very health progressive messages to the individuals, but they do not actually get across the audiences correctly. So that is also possible in different health campaigns. And thirdly, communication is a dynamic process in which sources and receiver actually continuously interact with each other, and they interplay the roles, right? Especially if you see the example of the COVID pandemic, what you must have seen as a sender, when you were giving them messages, when you were giving the audiences health messages that you really need to wear the mask, the virus is spreading, and you need to perform healthy practices, etc. But what we have actually understood was, at the second level, once the government send their messages, at the second level, the receivers like us as audiences, we were sending back the messages that this is what is happening where we are living, or their different health practitioners were giving their own messages. So here there is continuously interplay of the sources and the receiver, and both of them can actually do the interplay together. Secondly, when we look at something known as the importance of health communication, it basically talks about it informing, influencing, and motivating individuals and institutions and public at large. So here mass media has an important role to play. So in this session, I'm trying to investigate the whole role of this mass media. When we say in this bracket, mass media is really doing a great job. What is this great job, especially in a developing country like India? How important is health awareness? Or how do you bring about attitudinal or behavioral changes in health communication, etc.? This is what I'll be looking at. Secondly, what if you understand, health communication is not just talking about disease prevention, which we continuously actually misunderstand, that health communication is just like disease prevention or controlling a disease to spread, whether it is communicable disease or it is it is a non-communicable disease. It is not that. There are many other factors like applications of health communication, whether it is health promotion. Health promotion is an important factor when it comes to health communication. Third, improvement of quality of life. If suppose the quality of life in a society is actually degrading, you can use health communication as an important, integral component. Then changes in healthcare services, technology, regulations, policy. Then encourage healthy practices, behaviors, create awareness about certain things. Then motivate individuals, refute myths and misconceptions. Again, very interesting component which we actually do not take into serious consideration. So a lot of applications, but we just limit it to something known as disease prevention, so which is actually wrong. If you see the WHO principles for effective communication, again, it is very interesting, keeping in mind how important is communication. They've clearly defined, and they have defined that being accessible actionable, credible, relevant, timely, and understandable. All are interconnected. It's like a huge circle which is continuously moving across. And at each level, we have different people who are actually doing their roles. Like when you talk about accessibility, we are talking about individuals like us as mass audience. Or, how when you talk about actions, actionable, we are actually looking at communities. How do they become self-sufficient and take actions? Similarly, when we talk about something known as credibility, how do you make sure healthcare providers actually may give credible information to their publics? So, etc. So, it is this all comes under communicating for health, which is known as C for health. Again, very interesting section, which is actually, introducing a lot of research by the young researchers, I would say. Now, coming to the theoretical perspective, like I mentioned in the initial or the beginning of my presentation, that I would also be looking at something known as mass media theories, which actually connect to health communication. So, the first important theory here is a social marketing theory, which is a theory given by Philip Kotler and Gerald Zaltman, who actually said that when you spread socially valuable information among individuals, it becomes actually socially accepted behaviors. I understand that it is a little tricky, but it's simple that you send important messages to individuals, like in the case of the campaign like Swachh Bharat campaign, which was which really got popular among Indian masses. There, the main idea was the socially valuable information was something known as using of sanitation or healthy behaviors to create the environment healthy and safe for your own life. So that was something which was considered as socially valuable information. And later on, through their own techniques of mass media, interpersonal, and group communication, what they started spreading this information. And finally, at different levels, it started becoming socially accepted behavior. So there are different features to this theory, like you are creating audience awareness, you're targeting the right audience, you're reinforcing the message again and again, you're cultivating image or impressions, stimulating interest, you're inducing desired result. So that is like, so this happens in various 6 stages. So it's a slow process. It's not something which will happen immediately. So again, something which takes time. So this theory talks really in particular that this particular theory doesn't happen quickly. It takes some time, and the audiences actually show some changes among them. That is how you calculate or you understand, yes, this campaign is actually working in there, right? So that is one of the example. Second is social cognitive theory. This is a little different from the previous theory which I mentioned, because this theory is by Albert Bandura. Okay, and it talks about personal experiences or individual experiences which you see every day, or the actions of others, the environmental factors, or your others who are following individual health behaviors. It actually becomes accepted by you because everybody is doing it. So, for example, you have this common idea of being fat is actually ugly, but being thin is healthy. Similarly, if you have six-pack abs, it is considered to be you're a healthy individual, right? Or if you exercise too much, actually you're a healthy individual. That is actually, it is not something which is coming in ourselves by our own. It is actually something which is given by some individual experience, or the actions of the others, or the environmental factors which are coming in together, and they're all interconnected, right? So they affect the individuals at the cognitive level, emotional level, and also behavioral level. So all the 3 levels. Cognitive, because you're thinking from your brain whether this is really working out for me or not. Secondly, emotional aspects, in the sense whether this is whether this is an emotional concern for me. That is why I should be accepting this behavior. Thirdly, the overall environment, whether it is supportive of this behavior. So all this is actually, this theory is very interesting because most of the behaviors which you, or the individual experience which I mentioned, comes from the follow up of the mass media. Mass media is giving a fair idea how you should be or how you should be behaving in a society, etc. So that is at only one level, but the major level is obviously the mass media. Coming to this third important theory, I won't call it a theory, actually it is more like a model. It's known as the trans theoretical model. And this model was given by Prochaska and De Clemente, sorry, and it was given in late 1970s. So you can understand how old this theory is, or how old this model is. But it again, said that, individual going through an intentional change is going through a lot of processes. It's not like as of today I tell you that this is a desired behavior, tomorrow you change. No. So this model is really talking in practical perspective, in the sense, if I'm a person who smokes or uses drugs, I cannot change my behavior immediately. There needs to be a proper health campaign which should change me step by step. So there are a lot of stages, like the pre-contemplation stage, which is the first stage, which talks in particular the general, thought process which is going on in our mind, whether what I'm doing is right or wrong. Whether this is what I'm doing, but others are saying this is wrong. So should I stop it or not? So this is the pre-contemplation or the confusion stage. You're in the confused or dramatic stage, what I should do or what I should not do, right? The second stage is contemplation, where you actually, start thinking, because mass media, different levels of communication has boosted in the messages. So there is some amount of contemplation or thought processes which is going on in your mind, but you are unable to understand whether this is the desired behavior. So again, you are confused, but you really know that I should remove this behavior from my daily lifestyle. Then comes preparation. Then you start doing some initiative, in the sense you stop smoking or stop using drugs at regular intervals in a slow pace. Then finally action. You actually stop it, and then you look for other practices which will help you leave this practice, right? So then finally the maintenance. You actually maintain this particular behavior for long. So actually all this is connected to this particular theory, but this all goes in a circular fashion, like I said. So any health campaign should not go immediately to the core perspective of a person, or doesn't affect the person immediately. It goes in a very slow process. So this theory is much more like a practical theory which is happening in the real sense. It is looking at this real health concern at the grassroots level. Okay. Then the next theory is spiral of silence. I would say that this theory is completely, drafted keeping in mind mass media, especially television. And this theory was given by Elizabeth Newman. Everybody would be knowing this particular theory because she was a great German political scientist who was trying to understand how does some opinion become dominant among people, and they start talking the same dominant opinion everywhere, right? But people who have a different opinion actually become silent, right? And they become a different community in itself, and they start thinking they cannot speak up because their opinion is not the major opinion, right? So that is considered to be spiral of silence, in the sense you become silent in the course of process. You are unable to actually talk openly about what you really think as a person. So here clearly this theorist has said, the interpersonal connect of people who are actually silent is very difficult because they are unable to actually open up their viewpoint. So, but here you should understand the opinion which is expressed by the dominant medium here is mass media. And here again, but this theory is utilized very effectively for many campaigns, in the sense, especially, I would say that, in the campaign like HIV/AIDS, There was people had no idea really what is this particular health concern, how is this concern very relevant for the people. But suddenly you see the mass media actually taking in really great concern towards it and bringing it in the news media. So the government started taking important steps, and then finally there were many decisions taken at the policy level. So you can understand during the 1980s, when mass media, the prominent mass media at that point of time is television, it became an important dominant medium to circulate core important information about this particular concern. So that is again something which has become which can come positive from this particular theory, right? So you can use many theories in a positive level also and as well as a negative level, but depends on your campaign. So coming to the next theory is the behavior change communication. So this communication, you could say, doesn't stand alone in the sense it works with the usage of certain other theories in together, in the sense many other theories coming together with this theory, with this particular theory, and you try to promote positive health behaviors and you develop communication strategies. It also tries to look, the current social conditions of the people and help the society to solve their present health concerns. So here different important variables are important, like attitude, subjective norms, in the sense what do you think as a person, what are the core values or principles you have. Then how can you control your behavioral pattern towards something, or what is the campaign intending you to do, and what is the final behavior. So especially in the campaign like Swachh Bharat campaign, this behavior change communication is very relevant because you're talking to the grassroots level. You're talking to the people who are living in the villages, whose illiteracy level is not at par to the cities, right? So they have different attitudes and their subjective norms are different. Their perceived behavioral norms are different. So what is your intention from this campaign is you're trying to make them understand that this particular behavior is good for you. So whether they intend to do or not is only possible through behavior change communication. So like I said, this is not a standalone theory. It is supported by interpersonal communication or the grassroots communication or group communication, but the dominant here level of communication is again mass media, right? So these are the major theories which I thought I would look at while explaining this particular topic. But I would also like to look at the different levels of impact of health communication. How does health communication affect you at different levels, not only at the individual level, but different levels. So at first, we should look at the individual level, which is the fundamental target. Like we should come back to the first thing which I mentioned about WHO. When you talk about accessibility, the first thing which comes to our mind is individual. How does an individual get affected? And how does individuals' awareness, knowledge, attitudes, self-efficacy, skills get affected for behavior change? Similarly, the social network, the communities where, or the social system where an individual is actually living in, or the relationships, groups, are actually an entry point for health communication. So you could really understand the social groups where you are living in. That becomes the core point for you to start a discussion on something which is relevant or important when it comes to health. Then comes the organization. Organization is very relevant in the sense, if suppose I'm a teacher, I teach in a college. What you'll understand that as a college, you also implement different health behaviors to your students, right? So you also become carriers to health messages. So the third bracket or the third level of health communication is the organization, because organization is something which you're actually working with or interacting with at different levels. Then comes the community. Like while interacting with Ms. Pooja, I mentioned that we actually went to the grassroots community for working for the community radio, especially where the women only themselves were working out on the community radio. So the community-led initiatives are much more successful than the governmental level initiatives, because their own community is actually coming forward and fighting against a health concern. And finally comes the society. The society is actually a clubbing up of all these levels, whether it is an individual, whether it is a social network, the organization, community. It brings in all this together and then influences the individual behavior. So you can understand the levels of health communication and the scope of the health communication, how it works. It is not just a single level of communication which is happening here. Now, coming to the next aspect of health communication, that is the potential role. How could you see a potential role of health communication or mass media as an actor in the public health system? Do you even think that mass media is an actor, right? So it is very important or evident when we see, when we see people watching television, surfing World Wide Web, listening to music, reading to newspapers and magazines, this is their normal custom, right? Nowadays, we see people are accustomed to that. So it is evident that they are using it every day in their daily lives. And the proliferation, when you say in the sense, the expansion of communication technology. Nowadays, if you have a mobile phone, you can actually experience media in your own sense, whether it is, a miniature, like a miniature radio, or surf the important news of the current time, etc. So it is something which is playing an important role at every second, right? Then talking about life experience, you're actually experiencing your own life through communication technologies instead of directly experiencing or witnessing it. You're actually being a part of the life experience mediated through communication technologies, if I have to rephrase it. So you can understand the role, the potential of mass media, where it has a responsible role to give you accurate information and important information related to health. It cannot give you something which is a false or a myth information. It cannot, because people are every day actually visualizing mass media in their own sense, right? And moreover, when you talk about mobilization is like you're bringing in together people from different sectors all together and creating conditions for health, right? So you're mobilizing people for social action. You're making them fight for different concerns, like the recent campaign about drug use, right? Anti-drug use and smoking showed that, all the communities, whether it is children, whether it is organization, whether it is government, whether it is communities, they should all come together for societal action against this cause. It's not something an individual can bring a change here. So mass media is an important tool here because you're continuously sending in messages to the required respondents at regular intervals, right? Then moreover, when you talk about mass media, it brings in issues to the a national public agenda, that this is an important concern and there needs to be catalyzing action towards it at national levels and local levels and community levels. So all these levels, mass media has to really bring in this issue at the public agenda. People should actually understand this is a concern for me, or this is a concern for the system, entire system. Here, I would like to bring about a statement by Everett Rogers in his study about mass media. He said that, health communication campaigns are interventions intended to generate specific outcomes for a relatively large number of individuals within a specific period of time through an organized set of communication activities. Very interesting in the sense his whole idea of how mass media is playing a role, especially in connecting large number of individuals, is very interesting. Here is clearly outlining the importance of mass media, because mass media has its own ability to connect to a large audience, right? And bringing an organized set of communication activities at different levels. So here, broadcasters, especially when you talk about television advertising, that I will be talking about in my next section, that how television advertising or socially important advertising is very relevant in connecting with our audiences. When you actually look at PSAs, which are conveying health promoting messages to the people at different levels and making them, asking them to follow this because this is wrong, right? So the great promise of mass media lies in the ability to disseminate well defined favorable messages to large audiences repeatedly over time, right, at a low cost per head. So here again PSAs become very relevant. So now I would talk about the power of the audiovisual medium. Like I told in my previous section, that PSAs are very relevant. So here I'm actually looking at advertising, how public service advertising is an important mass media strategies designed for changing perceptions. How do you change a perception of an individual, of a society, or a community? So here, the relevance of development communication discourses comes very relevant because it is top-down approach or participant theories, and they have all said that mass media actually becomes a catalyst. It is like a catalyst when we have already studied the importance of catalyst in chemistry, how it is, it becomes the mediator for a change, right? So here again mass media can become a catalyst in the process of development. And effective audiovisual media has an impact, tremendous impact on a society like Indian society, where a majority of the population is not so literate, right? So you really need to come to the core of understanding and make this messages very simple. So here I would say that many scholars have pointed out, the power of television to construct preferred meanings on the viewers, in the sense meanings which are easily to understand. And different kinds of pictures or visuals carry different meanings to viewers, and they have the ability to make their own meanings. So very interesting how, mass media or television is doing its role at different levels. So here I would like to pinpoint, different PSAs which were developed during the Swachh Bharat campaign, especially the Vidya Balan's PSA strategy, which was utilized by the government. And especially different ads were, prepared at that time, especially Dulhan, which became, a matter of great appreciation, where, recently married woman said that I won't enter the house of the in-laws if there is no toilet. So she actually put forward a very interesting meaning to the whole idea of sanitation. It was her own meaning. So it became a preferred meaning for the people who were watching this, advertisement on the television. Similarly, her ads on, what is the real progress, or when you talk about progress, what is the progress? Whether a big house, or whether having a cemented house is the progress, or having a toilet in the house is a progress. So these are all preferred meanings, and how do you take these meanings is something very interesting, right? So these PSAs are actually again showing the power of the audiovisual media, how it can be utilized effectively for transmitting messages, which I said, like in the first section, that communication plays two roles. One is transmission, second is ritual. So it is playing two roles. Transmission is the development of the PSA. Second is actually ritual, which you make, where you are making them understand the preferred meaning, or what you want to tell the listeners or tell the viewers, right? That what is a preferred meaning related to a health campaign. So moving aside to all this, I would also say that there are some really successful case studies on this, especially in a country like India, where, media is playing the role of the catalyst, like I mentioned, and social change, communication and social change, where it is trying to bring in inclusive growth. So when you talk about inclusive growth, you should also again go back to the grassroots communication. So here I have already given you the example of HIV/AIDS, where an important health concern which was invisible before 1980 suddenly came in the public eye until the media brought it to light to the people. Similarly, very successful project is KEDA Communication Project, for which it actually received an award in the UNESCO award in the 1976, where it clearly mentioned, that use of technologies towards the community actually made them change practices. It was clear. I would also like to read, one of the phrases by the UNESCO, which is very interesting, especially in this section. It said that, Kera was an exceptional example of combining of modern technologies with a participatory approach to communication. The project employed traditional cultural expressions of a rural community in the creation of its audiovisual programs while using modern evaluation techniques for its program planning. So overall, this project proved to be a great example of the applications of communication for the promotion of human development. So this was after the award was announced. So how you can understand how relevant the use of the audiovisual or communication technology was. Similarly, coming to the Swachh Bharat campaign, the whole vision of making India clean at different levels, whether it is sanitation or good behavior or clean surroundings, all this was applied at different levels. Though we are still still at the still not at the stage of actually achieving it, but still we have crossed on different levels. And mass media was the first criterion which was taken up by Swachh Bharat campaign. Similarly, coming to social advertising, we have different, ads which have used continuously the whole idea of what you call mass media at the maximum, like especially when you talk about sex education. So the whole idea of deluxe निरोध condom, जो कॉन्डोम का साथ ना छोड़े वही है हमारे मुकद्दर का सिकंदर. Similarly, जागो ग्राहक जागो by the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, food and public distribution, etc. A lot of examples where they've used an anti-smoking campaign nowadays. Before every film, film promotion, they show it, or the film viewing in all the cinema theaters, it is shown as a government order. So all these are very important, audio visual advertisements, which are really making good change in the society. So at the end, I would also like to say that health communication has really a long way to go. And it's not achieved what it has to achieve, actually, but it is really doing its change at different levels. And there are a lot of hurdles and challenges, but using communications, using mass media and communication technologies at different levels effectively can actually change the situation. And mass media supported with different forms of communication can do wonders to different health campaigns. So I would like to stop here. And I would also like to thank the GMEC to give me this opportunity to present my views on this topic. So thank you.
Okay, so I think Pooja is.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So,
Hi, sir.
yeah. Hi.
Sorry, I was talking on mute.
I'm sorry
Okay,
about the
so good to see
presentation
you, sir.
part. Sir.
And Aswathi ma'am covered almost everything. I think when it comes to the topic, looking at the topic, I initially it was like my thinking that it would not have this much broad aspects. But Aswathi ma'am, you have covered it very well, and how mass media is impacting health communication. It's really something very different. So when it comes to media and entertainment, when we talk about the entertainment industry, media industry, now we can interlink other industries also.
Yes, yes.
Like, sir, you must remember we had one session talking about the highway and how to going by that the travel thing.
Yeah.
Now, today it's a completely different thing of health communication. So you have linked media industry with other industries too.
Yes, yes. Yeah. I'm sorry about the presentation part though. But
I think the presentation was good, and obviously health communication has come to the fore for the last 2 years particularly.
Yes, yes.
It was always important, but then people would hardly understand the
Yes.
significance till the time this COVID happened. Even government earlier was not paying that much attention, but now even the government has understood that
Yes.
they have to build the health infrastructure. But the most important thing, I believe, as Aswathi, you very rightly explained, that we should understand the role of the media.
Yes.
And since we all are in media education or media industry, so we should understand our role or the role of the student who are educating today. Tomorrow they will be taking up their positions, whether in
Yes.
the journalism sector or in the advertising or public relations or wherever, even in films, as you
Yes.
picked up examples from films as well. So whichever area a media person is working, if that right kind of
Mhm.
sensitization is there with regard to health, so
Yes.
somewhere or the other, that aspect will reflect. And
Yes.
that's the most important aspect, undoubtedly,
Yes.
because if the health issues are there, whatever kind of health issues, I mean, if we go further into categorization of health and
Yes.
all, but then uh, we have to be healthy to perform well, to do well. And unless there is a healthy society, it can never grow. Or health is a part of the whole process of growth and development. So
Yes.
that way we must understand this. So I think it was very informative, very comprehensive, and kudos to you for that, Ashok.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Very well said, sir. And even during COVID, when we all understood the importance of health, at the same time, we all understood, how the media was working day and night to bring such minor topics that, earlier we used to think, oh, this is just a small thing, but now these are the big things that are really important. And now, after the COVID scenario, I really wish I could say the COVID is over someday. But now we realize that how we used to miss out on one thing, which is really very important for our life.
Yes.
Yeah, but then the sustenance of that vigor has to be there.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Particularly talking about the television media. I mean,
Yes.
sensitization has happened. Media has understood its role in a better manner. More coverage is seen as compared to 2 years back. But still, people are. I mean, media is still at various levels forgetting
Yes.
as to what has happened. So that continuation has to be there.
Has to be there.
Yeah.
That stress has to be there.
That is what I said, sir.
Sustainability.
There are various challenges or hurdles,
Yeah.
but to this whole idea of mass media and health communication.
Yeah.
True,
Because
true.
in journalism, because I have been a practicing journalist in
Mm.
journalism, health is considered a very uninteresting area
Yeah.
to practice and to make a career. Most of the people in journalism, they are more interested in films or in entertainment
Yes.
or in sports, or I mean such areas which are more interesting, more catchy on the face of it. Health
Yes.
does not appear that much interesting or catchy, but then it's the most important aspect of anybody's life.
Yes, sir.
So that emphasis need to be there.
Yes, sir.
Now, even the impact, now people are actually spending on their health.
Yes.
Earlier, people were spending on the luxury, but now they have
Yes.
realized only luxuries will stay with you till the time you're healthy.
Yes,
Yeah.
Now
exactly.
they are talking about health, and media actually plays a very important role in bringing this, point in front of public.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. That from 1980s, the whole power of mass media is there, but nobody is actually bringing it to the forefront. Especially when you talk about 1976 KEDA project was just what a wholesome experience for the participants who actually experienced it, and it was a big success for it also. But nobody actually recognized its caliber, I would say, and they never continued it.
I think there are, I mean, many aspects to this.
Yeah.
One important aspect is that in media education, health communication was not given that much
Yes.
emphasis.
Yes.
So now gradually it's happening. Like if I take example of my university, IP University, now there is a whole paper on health communication.
Yes.
So that was not there till 10 or 20 years back.
Yes.
So
Yes.
in media education, there has to be more emphasis on this. And in media industry, also news channels, newspapers, they put more emphasis. Newspapers do to some extent, but television
Yes.
channels, they do not do this even today. So
Yes.
that understanding has to be there, as your topic was this only, the mass
Yes.
media's role. So that role has to be realized properly.
Yes. The nexus is actually not working.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The
But I'm
ideas are
sure,
there, but the nexus is not working.
but I'm sure slowly, gradually, it will make an impact, and people
Yes.
like Aswathi ma'am, who are actually working in the similar field, will definitely bring a change in the society. And that's what one step we need to do. Our step can bring in 100 other steps
Yeah.
into a front.
Yeah.
Really,
Social
hats off to
cognitive
you, ma'am,
theory.
for that.
Yeah.
Well, what you said is just a replica of social cognitive theory, nothing else. Yeah.
So good to have you, ma'am. So good to have you, sir. I'd also like to mention about our upcoming webinar, which is scheduled for 11th of November, 6 p.m. We'll be talking about media laws and ethics. We recently had a session, and this will be an elaboration of what we have done last time. And Dr. Vanya Chaturvedi will be there with us. So I request everybody to be available 6 p.m. Friday, and we'll be talking more about the laws and ethics, because that's also an integral part of the society. We are civilized till the time we are following the rules and regulations.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Amri sir, for being there. Aswathi ma'am, I really apologize for the inconvenience happened in the in the beginning.
But you can, I will share with you the presentation. You can, yeah, you can share
Sure.
it.
So anybody needs a presentation, they you can get in touch with us. We'll have the presentation reach you. But your theory, your explaining everything was really, no, it made everything very clear.
Oh,
So
thank
hats
you.
off. Thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank
much. Take
you.
care. Stay safe,
Yes.
and yeah, stay healthy.
Yeah,
See
okay.
you on 11th of November.